is back on online again. Am I correct?
That is correct, James.
All right. And now this is all going to work. Koo,
I hope so this time.
All
The
right.
second time is the charm.
Let's make sure that it's going to work. We know it. You have 5 minutes to introduce yourself to our audience and to talk about why you would be the best candidate for this particular position. So the floor is yours, sir.
Well, thank you again for having me. Obviously, I'm not a politician. I'm not here to sell you big dreams like a lot of politicians does. I don't have local, national politicians endorsing my campaign. I don't have big money endorsing my campaign, which I think Wisconsin does not want that from a senator anyway. I believe that I come from a very humble background. When the candidates here talk about humble background, where they grew up, I think compared to mine, it's like, paradise. My family survived the Vietnam War thanks to my parents. We make the journey on foot in the jungle of Southeast Asia to get to the Mekong River. Then my father, the only swimmer with a single rope tied to my family, 6 of us behind him, non-swimmers, and he pulled us across the Mekong River towards a distant light that he said was the light of freedom in pitch dark up night and against the strong current, because we were escaping the communist revolution that was from Laos. My father, my family, for my father was a choice between a perilous journey fraught with danger or risk the death of his entire family. He left behind his land, his livestock, basically everything that he owns, just so that we could live. And when we got to the other side of the river, my family lived in poverty for 7 years in a refugee camp before we were granted the opportunity to become Americans. And, when I first arrived here in America, I remember clearly, first time seeing a toilet flush, first time drinking soda, first time riding a car, first time puking in the back of a seat of a car. All these things I remember clearly, growing up in Detroit, in the inner city, struggles, trying to find myself with the challenges of adjusting to a new culture, language barriers, and also just growing up in particular. So with all these things, I think that for a politician, we need to, I'm not saying that I know how you feel, but I'm saying that I've been there with similar situations. Who could best represent you? A person who grew up in the worst of situations in this world. I ask for your support tonight. You haven't seen me on TV. You haven't seen me in a lot of newspapers, radios, and yet even the last debate. This is all big money. Candidates here tonight are very proud that they are on the debate stage. It's unfortunate because they were invited. Some of us weren't invited. I think if we were invited at the same time with some of these candidates, we will have the opportunity to actually fulfill those criteria and be on the stage. These are the kind of things that I think that democracy, it's eroding because we say it's fair, but it's really not fair. And that is the reason why I'm running. I'm bringing with me perseverance, honesty, hard work, giving voices to those people that do not have voices. And that's why I'm running. Democracy is really at stake, guys. America hasn't been successful at preparing our children for the 21st century world. We're lagging behind countries like China, Canada, Europe, in educating our kids in math, science, engineering, reading. That's on the global stage. Let's narrow it down to the state. Milwaukee, for instance, Milwaukee's public schools, they're like the lowest ranking district probably in the country when it comes to test takings. We haven't done much to help them for the last 20 years. What about the kids in the rural areas of Wisconsin? We have an issue with teacher shortage. All of these we have to tackle. Not only that, we talk about technology. We talk about everything else. But that's my concern with technology, because if we let all the countries get ahead of us in technology, I think in America could lose our sole superpower, this planet. And I think that's a serious issue, combined with the cybersecurity threat that we face on a daily basis, with almost everything that we own when it comes to banking system, our food system, our governing system. We're all just sitting ducks waiting for that attack to happen. And no one's talking about that. And I'm proud to say that I'm the only one that talk about technology and want to secure our assets and be serious about protecting our assets from hackers and every bad person out there. Also, it concerns me a whole lot about our climate change. I know people talk about climate change, and I know people are aiming for the high-hanging fruits, like they're gonna flip the switch and we're gonna switch it. But realistically speaking, there's so many things we have to do. We have to tackle the low-hanging fruits in order for us to achieve the get to the high-hanging fruits. And I'm all about practicality. That's what I bring to the table. Many years of private industry experience to the table, and also my life long experience, both living in poverty, grown up in poverty, the struggles that I understand, that I know the feeling, because I've been in similar situations, how I could bring these things to the table and help the American family.
Mr. Lee, that leads us to one of the questions that we have. As an immigrant yourself, what do you think the U.S. Senate needs to do to fix our immigration system and our policies? Obviously, people would look to your experience as someone who can certainly speak with authority on that particular issue. What are your thoughts?
James, a wonderful question. Then, the question that I want to ask everybody is, do you allow people to come through your house freely, through your front door or back door? Just come inside your house, watch your TV, open your fridge and eat your food, and just be in your house that you have no idea who they are. To me, I think it's a common sense thing to make sure that we secure people that gets inside our country has to come legally. People that leave our country has to leave legally, because we want to make sure that we protect the sovereignty of our country and national security. Now, when we talk about immigration, say the family that's already here in the country, we're gonna provide a path for citizenship, because this is the dream. This is what people risk their lives, their entire lives to get here. Just like my family risking our lives to get away from communist Laos, so that we could literally have a new beginning across the river in Thailand here in America. So I think there has to be some sort of common sense ground here where we could compromise and make sure that the people that are already here, we provide a path for citizenship, and also humanely treat these people so that we don't have the situation we have right now in the South.
One of the questions that was raised earlier was, should you not become the candidate after this primary, what do you see your role being in the general election? Are you going to be supporting the ultimate candidate? Are there things that you feel that you could do that would be beneficial to make sure that we actually win we send Ron Johnson back to back to wherever?
All right. Well, I have always been a team player, regardless what it is. I like to look at myself as a boxer. Right now, we are all of us inside the ring, and we're exchanging punches. But regardless what the results are at the end of the fight, the fighters has to come together, congratulate each other, give each other a hug, back to being friends again, and we get ready for the next competition and the next match. So that has always been my philosophy in everything I do. Even way back in college, when we talk about, extending your hand across the aisle, different people, I think I'm the only person in this race that can say honestly that I have friends from everywhere in every section of the globe, and also here in the United States, because I grew up in Detroit. I live in the Northeast, and my experience tells you, even in corporate America, that the way to get things done is not because, your way, the highway. It's that you compromise. It's that you meet people in the middle, that you are anxious to make sure that you compromise to get things done. And I think that I'm the only person that actually could say that, because I lived through it. From even the bottom part of the world to this point in America, the high life living the American dream. So absolutely, I'm a team player. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that we support the candidate, the nominee, to make sure that this person wins, and also, you know, Tony Evers, and all over the state. So absolutely.
There's no question right now, you know, we focus on Democrats because it's the Democratic primary. But after you've won the primary, then the question becomes, how do you reach out to Republican voters and independents and the various divisions that are out there in our entire political system that is really fragmented our voting base? Why do you think, what do you think you have to offer that will make a difference in attracting more people, not just Democrats, but outside the Democratic Party to vote for you in the general election?
You know, James, I have always been taught that no matter where you go, you need to plant flowers. And I have been living on that philosophy for a very long time, for 44 years now. And I believe that good will always prevail, even though, you know, at a marginal win, but good will always prevail. And I think that the Wisconsin people, the families that are here are good people. Everyone is looking to get ahead in their life. Right now, what we have is a situation where the working class, we're like the lawn, we're like the grass, we're like a grass in the house, where the owners would just mow the lawn and keep mowing the lawn all the way down to the dirt, and the sun is bearing on it, and it's getting yellow, and the whole lawn is getting very dry and dying out. What I mean is that the working class has been taken advantage of, has been screwed. That's for so many years now. Middle-class Americans has worked hard, actually holding 2-3 jobs, but still cannot make ends meet because the wealth in our country has kind of lifted from the middle class to some of the very few at the top. And if we don't do anything about this within the next few generations, all of the wealth will be sucked up to a few handful people. And I think that that's going to be bad. That's going to be not healthy for democracy. And I think that it doesn't matter who you are on the spectrum of your political beliefs, whether you blue, whether you red. I think that all of us are looking for that common thing, to make sure we could take care of our family, to make sure we have good paying jobs, to make sure that our kids are going to good schools, to make sure that our kids have a future just like ours, or being given the same opportunities and future Americans. So I think that when it comes down to that reality, it doesn't matter who you are, independent, Republican, Democrats. I think we all answered the question, yes, resoundingly, that we need those things to be done correctly. And I think that I'm the only person that has the moral compass and the life experience to actually will do this. Some people claim to be immigrants, but they came to this country, their parents being PhDs and physicists and so forth, but they still try to proclaim that they're immigrants, that they struggle, which I think it's a little bit kind of hypocrite, because you're trying to be a United States senator. So I don't think we want that from a senator.
We have just a couple minutes remaining, and I know as you conduct your campaign in various parts of the state, and the audience here tonight is mostly from southwestern Wisconsin, are there any issues that maybe surprised you as you introduce yourself to Southwest Wisconsin that were more to the forefront here than in other areas of the state? And what are your thoughts on those issues?
You know, I think there's different people that have different needs, but one of the common thing that I found is that the equity and the access to some of these resources, for example, better schooling, for example, broadband, cell phone towers, internet access. For example, we have farmers who have lost their business, you know, dairy farmers. And I know that the governor, the lieutenant governor alluded to the idea of carbon credits. I think that was our idea. So I think I was very happy that he mentioned that because it's a good idea, a popular idea. The very first thing we could do is, yes, we could actually find ways to put money into the pockets of our farmers by, carbon credits, cover crops. Those are some of the things that we could do right away to help the struggling families of the Southwest to make sure that we could, get something going right away for them. And we're going to make sure that the company that pollutes, that creating all these things that is destroying our environment, not just in America, but around the world, we want to make sure that they pay for the prices of making or producing those things that actually is no good for all of us. And I also want to mention, I'm the only candidate that actually say that perhaps Wisconsin needs to take a careful look at the cannabis industry, because all these farmers, they could do something to profit them right away. And also the idea that cannabis industry, the fibers from the plant is very specialized and can be used to make specialized cloth that will be utilized by the military personnel, which we have Fortune 500 companies here in the States that is actually have similar technology that we could actually benefit from and create the revenue that we could actually help our schools incentivize teach use programs so they will move to the rural to teach our kids there to expand a broadband cell phone towers.
If I may, I do have to interrupt here because we have run to the end of our time here. And I appreciate all that you have shared with us. I do have just one last question that I've asked everyone else. If we want to find out more about you, your candidacy, and your stand on various issues, how do we go about contacting you, or where are you on the internet that would give us those answers we're looking for?
Very simple. If you need to find out more about me, please go to www.leeforwisconsin.com. And I want to tell you guys that I don't quit. I'm the least generate the least money of all the candidates here because I don't have the big donors, but we don't quit. I will fight to the end. Some people has named me Rocky, but you know what? I think we're gonna scratch and claw all the way to the end. And this won't be the last you guys hear from me, but please consider. I would love your support on August 9th, because we have to send the right person to Washington, D.C. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for joining us and for your candid responses to our questions. And